Hello everyone, welcome back to Unlearn with Bianca. Today I have a very special guest with me, really excited about today's chat. I have Jackie Mitchell, she's a psychic medium, she's my friend, and she is gifting her precious time and energy to be here with us. I say precious time and energy. You are in hot demand with like a 2-year waiting list, so we're very lucky. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it's a little bit, I just think it's a sign of the times. People are wanting to know more.
Yeah.
And that's a really good thing. It's
Yeah,
a really good
2
thing.
years, you are the real deal. I don't think I've ever actually said this. I was thinking before I came, when did I first cross paths with you? But it was actually, you may not remember, I'm not sure because I know you see so many people, but it was actually when I was 24. Okay, do you remember that?
Yep.
Wow, on the back of someone else's reading?
It always amazes me when I remember the person that I first met versus who you've evolved into at this period of time.
Oh my gosh, I
yep.
just thought you wouldn't have remembered.
No, it's kind of the ability to track how much people's evolution in the contact over that period of time as well, and your evolution's incredible.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Because I remember, like I'd had a few readings before, but I saw you. I wasn't meant to see you. I saw you just for about 20 minutes, I think, and I was at a crossroads at that time. Very much so. Like I had so much anxiety. I didn't know my next steps with study. It was before I moved to London, and I think after that session, I was just so overwhelmed because everything you told me, I couldn't make sense of it in my own head, and for you to put it into words, I don't know, it was like a real turning point. So,
and half the time that I think that's what it is. So a lot of the communication, the way that spirit communicates, is taking processes and actually giving them a voice and putting them into words.
Yeah.
Because we spend a lot of time trying to wade through the clutter of our own mind, and spirit is very, very concise about going, we'll formulate it in a way. And I quite often say to people, when you're working with spirit, it is jigsaw puzzling. You're grabbing all the bits from them or someone's brain, basically, and putting it into a formula that somebody else can actually understand. And then we can process it differently.
Yeah.
So interpreter.
It literally was that, and I just left. I remember crying in a positive way, but also I was just like, oh shit, now I have to make some changes, because you just knew exactly what I had been feeling inside. And I remember one thing from that reading, I think I was like 23, 24, you said that at 35 I would start to step into my own.
Yep.
And I was so young, I was like, 35, that's like 12 years away. I was just like, it felt like a lifetime away, but I think you're probably on the money because I'm 33 at the moment.
Well, it's kind of, it's like this as well. We get very caught up on time. And in that time, we're judging ourselves all the time. I should have done this. I could do this. I should do this. In reality, time is a man-made construct. It doesn't apply anyway. When your soul is ready for you to evolve to the level that you're supposed to be at, then you'll have enough wisdom at that period of time as well. And always remember, you were so gorgeous, but you were so impatient. You were like, I need to do it now. I need to know now.
That had been me for most of my life.
I need to know now what I need to be doing. And you were forgetting the evolution of you along the way is that you were going to, I love what Spirit says, you were going to run, crawl, trip, fall down, get back up again, and work out just how incredibly resilient that you are, and realise that you can actually do anything. And it's only in the falling and the re-rising that we realise that we can do anything.
Well, luckily I didn't know what was coming for me at that point. It's obviously, that was 10 years later we reconnected as I was navigating grief when my mum was still here, but I was going through transitionary grief.
Yep.
Dealing with a lot of internal changes. I just got back from London. I was going through a break. I had the perfect storm.
Yep.
And you were, I can't even express how grateful I was, but just the processing of my grief, the transition of my mum, being through that, guiding me through it, and also my own evolution, because I was shifting a lot internally, and it was and it still can be, but a very isolating, confusing time, shedding so many people around me as well.
Absolutely. And I think quite often I sum it up this way for people when it's it can be an anticipated loss, especially if you're dealing with cancers or, degenerative illnesses. And there's no right pathway. I liken it to, this is going to take you to hell, and then you're going to have to find your own pathway back again. And it won't be like anybody else's, even though there's other people with you in there. It'll be uniquely your journey back from that hell. And that sounds like a really terrible way of putting it. It spirals you into a place that you never dreamt that you would be in, to deal with stuff that you never thought that you would deal with. And the pits of the despair of loss and grief, it is a hell.
Yeah.
And then you have to go, I don't even know who I am.
Totally.
I've got to find my way back from it. And in the meantime, this is happening before your person's even transition. And then when they do transition, you're like, oh my gosh, I thought I had this sorted, to realise that it's not just hell, there's now a void where this person was that I also have to deal with. So it's an incredibly raw and agonising space for people to go through, because the depths that you go into, there's nothing that will bring that experience like the way that it was.
Nothing. You're not the same person.
Never. No. And in moments, you're not the same person. And you can literally, I always think of it that it looks a little bit, when Spirit shows it to me, like somebody's done a freeze frame, and there's one frame, and you're not that person, not that person, not that person, not that person. It's going on all the time.
Yeah.
And so I just thought at that period of time also how incredibly remarkable you were, because also, when that happens, everybody else around you is putting you into a role at exactly the same time. So you're not just losing your best friend because your mum was your best friend, but you're then having to turn up in a role for other family members. And grief is really, really triggering for so many people because we're not taught to deal with it very well. That basically you end up being a support person for people that you never expected to be, and you actually feel like putting your hand up and going, excuse me, it's me that actually lost my person. What the hell am I having to support everybody else for as well?
It's interesting. The time, it's almost like you kind of know other people are thinking about what to say or how to deal with it, so you actually step in and try and, I don't know if that's a thing I just did, but...
Oh no, if you've got an amazing emotional bandwidth, which you do, an anticipatory bandwidth that this is awkward for another person, how can I make this easier? Then they will see you as coping really, really well.
Don't do that.
No, absolutely not. And
I was an autopilot.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's defence mechanisms, right? If you're like, okay, well, I can do that role right at the moment, because if I don't do that role, then I'm running the risk of just turning into a blubbering heap on the ground, and I don't want to do that either. Then we will grab whatever makes us feel the safest within that environment. We won't like it because we'll actually resent the other person for being so thoughtless, basically. But everybody, that's why it's your own personal hell, because you can't tell how somebody else is going to deal with it, because we're all completely different. And I think probably that's the most painful part of that walk, is you would really like someone walking with you as you're navigating that process, but it's yours so intensely personal that there is no one else there. There's only you. Yeah. And that's really hard. Yeah. Really, really hard. Yeah.
It's all taking me back to, well, actually grief is an ongoing process, but we'll talk about that
absolutely
further down the track. It doesn't go away, but it's when you're in the midst of it and everything around you is falling away. Sometimes I even look back and I'm like, how the fuck did I get through that period?
Absolutely, and most people are like that. And I quite often think of the scene from 4 Weddings and a Funeral, where he was reading the poem and he said that, you know, how is the sun still rising and setting? And that's one of the things when I lost my own dad, he died tragically. The sun came up the next day and I thought, fuck off. Like, I'm sorry, what are you people doing walking around going, I'm just going about my business. Someone pivotal dropped off the planet and no one is paying any attention. And it's like this huge personal slight that you're going, I'm sorry, I can't actually forgive the fact that the world hasn't stopped on a dime because the most important person in my world died. And it's a weird feeling.
I remember going to New World the day Mum died just to get some stuff for a platter and just being like, my world just ended and you guys are just shopping. And I was shopping too. It's just so discombobulating.
It is.
But yeah, we'll circle back to that because I think a lot of people listening, if you haven't gone through grief, then unfortunately you're going to go through it at some point.
Absolutely. It's the one certainty, you know, we can talk about death in politics, but the thing is no one's getting out alive. And part of the earth plane journey is to have that experience it's a complementary experience. It sounds like a weird thing to say, but the fact how much you love will be as deeply as you experience loss. And I always remember years ago I worked with a lady and she had lost her son at 19. She lost her partner to cancer. She had breast cancer, and then she lost her last remaining son in a car accident as well. And I was like, how much can a koala bear? How much can a koala bear? And she just said, like, the only way she could deal with it to go, well, you know what, I had those experiences with those and I really celebrated the experience. And I thought that's remarkable to actually get to that level where you can actually have so much loss and still look at the wonder of having been able to love those people. I'm like, oh, God, I have a twitch after that one.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you see a lot of different.
Yeah, and certainly in the area where of what we carry within ourselves after loss or the regrets that we have, the things that we wish that we had done, we certainly miss opportunities to probably deeply connect with people, and that comes up a lot, which is a main reason people want to reconnect with their people, is all the unsaid bits that we don't say.
I do want to explore that. Well, before we get into that, I just want to explain why I wanted this. I wanted you on the podcast for ages, and then we decided, right, we're going to do it. And I think it's really important, like, part of this podcast is about stretching people's minds.
Yep.
And that's all I want really, is to have honest conversations where you're thinking about things a bit differently. So it doesn't actually matter what you believe coming into this. I just say keep an open mind. I know that we're heading into this time and space where science and spirituality are coming together.
Yep.
And also, I think more and more people are looking for something to connect to that's greater than themselves, especially after COVID. I don't know if you find that.
I think probably like any wake-up call that we have, and particularly at a planetary level, where suddenly we're thrown into spirits calling that the divided mortality conversations, which is, oh my gosh, you know, could I possibly die because of this? Because we don't like looking at our mortality. And when we have things like pandemics, tsunamis, you know, wars, these are all things that bring up mortality for people. And we're just like, oh, could we avoid that as much as possible? No, you can't. And so it makes people a little bit open to those discussions as well. But it's certainly, I agree with Spirit, it's very much a divided camp here, because a lot of people, if you have someone that does not want to look at their own mortality, and we can see that, you know, I'm just, your mum keeps coming up and going, oh me, because not wanting to look at your mortality, and that happens to a lot of people that have cancer. They do not want to have a look at the fact that they're not going to be here anymore. And I remember a really raw discussion with my neighbour who is terminal, and she said, oh, I have to live with it. Why does everybody else want to talk about it? And I said, well, maybe you should just tell them that you're dying to live when everybody else is living to die.
True.
Because she savours every single day that she's still here, whereas we don't when we're not looking at it.
It's almost like when people want it, when they go to admit it, they feel like it's real and it's happening, but it's happening anyway. So it's
absolutely.
like, yeah, it's a really hard one, but that was so my mum.
Yeah, she just like, gloss over the top of that. It'll be fine. I'll deal with that tomorrow. Yes. And I think I do see that a lot when people come after they've lost their person. And they might say, oh my gosh, my mum was in denial, or my dad was in denial, and we were going through the motions every day, and siblings and sons and daughters and partners can go, are we ever going to have a hard discussion? Because that person does not want to do it. They think that it's better for the people that they're leaving behind that they don't include them in that pain. However, as you know, it also creates another void when that person's gone, because all the unaddressed elephant in the room things suddenly are there. And how did you truthfully feel about that? Or how did you actually feel not having any control over the fact that you weren't going to be here anymore? Those are complex discussions that people don't like to have. And the way that my neighbour explained it, I thought it was really awesome, is she said, well, I didn't have any answers for that, so I didn't really want to have any discussions about that because I didn't know. And I'm like, but it's healthier just to say, I don't know. And then that person goes, oh, thank goodness, I'm not supposed to have the answer either.
Exactly.
Because we're constantly going, either striving to understand, or can someone give me an answer for this as well? No, it just sucks.
Yeah.
It totally sucks.
That's the one thing I think, aside from caring for my mum, the one thing that I'm so grateful I had the courage to do was ask some hard questions.
Yep.
Even though I was the forthcoming one, which I always am, which I get in trouble for all the time. There was a lot of peace from me just by, even if there wasn't a response per se that was, a lengthy one.
Yep.
I think just remembering that you don't always get the opportunity to ask questions.
Absolutely, and good on you for doing that, because there's nothing worse than sitting. I remember working with my friend Joy, who had terminal cancer, and we talked a lot about what she could do from the other side, because she had only just got grandchildren, and then she was dying, and she was like, well, I've only just got them now, I'm going to lose them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, no, you're not. From the other side, you can help with how they're learning, how they're growing, all of those sorts of things. You'll get to do that. Just because you're not in the meat suit anymore doesn't mean that you're going to be limited by interactions and that's something to be really, really mindful of.
This is where I want to go to next, because the human side of us can see, I want to avoid those conversations. I don't want to talk about grief. I don't want to talk about death because I don't want to face it. But you have a different level of perspective that you get to access. So for those of people listening who have never, or just curious about what it is a psychic medium actually does, can you tell us, first of all, the difference, and then how, when you're sitting down with people, like what you see or feel? Because I know you have all the gifts, but in your own words.
No, that's a good. Well, a psychic can basically pick up the energy field around like a living person, basically, as well. So for me, that's incorporated. Spirit has taught me to see colours around people, auric fields, follow people's thought patterns, that sort of thing. So we're very much to do with the psyche, basically, which is who you are in your entirety. And you just have to be nosy. That's it. Just nosy around those sorts of curiosity. Curiosity is a massive thing when it comes to working with spirit, because if you don't ask the question, then you won't know. So that's why I always say ask the question.
Yeah,
it's very, very important that someone's asking the question, or else there's no answer.
Yeah.
So in the medium side is basically a person who consciously chooses to work with the person outside of the meat suit, basically, who's past a spirit realm, who wants to reconnect with their person. And the main reason that I got onto it is because I lost people that I loved in my 30s. And while I'd been like this my whole life, and everyone, I want to stress that everybody has a sixth sense, everybody has a knowing, it's just deciding to work with those side of things as well. And you have to be able to trust yourself that what you get is what you needed in that moment, and that's a really big thing about it as well. But overriding, I connect because of the love that you have with that person and the love that they have for you. That's timeless, dimensionless, spaceless. It's a massive reason. Why not?
So
Why not?
If you're going out to the supermarket, are you seeing loved ones around, or is it something you can switch on and off?
You can switch it on and off if you choose. I have a tendency to be more than mildly actually, entertained by the fact that most people are carting their spirit people around with them. And I remember was a couple of years ago, I came across a little old lady in Farmers pushing her trolley, and her person in spirit, he was there with her, and he was like gently redirecting her to, he was following what she was thinking about in her head. She wanted to buy some towels, clearly, so she's in the towel aisle, but he's directing her to the colours that he thought she should go have. And she's not aware that he's doing that until she said to me, she said, do you know, I was going to buy that colour, but I just know that my husband would not like that colour. I can just hear him saying, don't buy that colour. And I'm like, yes, you would hear him saying. Mentally, I'm thinking, yes, you would hear him
And
saying.
she was just the lady next to
Yeah,
you.
she's just like standing right beside me, but he's standing beside her, and he winked at me and he said, no, I don't like that colour. And I said, well, she's not. Mentally, no, she's not going to buy that colour anyway. Yeah. And he's like, ho, ho, ho. And I just thought, oh my gosh, if people knew those thoughts that are just randomly popping into your head that you think, oh my gosh, where did that come from? The left field. That is normally a person in spirit going, here, I'll just add my 2 cents worth as well. Yeah. And he was merrily going along behind her because he said to me, oh, she's a little bit of a kleptomaniac when it comes to places like Farmers with all the things. So I could watch her for a little bit, observed her, and she would put things in the trolley and then she would get it back out of the trolley. And you could literally hear her going, oh no, he'll not be happy if I bought that. So back it went onto the shelf again. He'd turn and wink at me, and I'm just like, how amazing they'd had such a long lifetime together that since his passing, he still was able to do those interactions with her. That doesn't end just because you're not in the meat suit anymore.
And it's so probably hard for people that don't have that. It must be frustrating for you because you can see it, but for people that can't. Yeah, like I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle because I can feel it, not see things.
Yeah, and it's very much like I've always said to people for years, like seeing is overrated, and they're like, why? And I said, well, you know, how many times do you want to jump out of your skin because somebody's just materialised right beside you? Like, honestly, I know there's a TV program, I think it's Catherine Tate is a comedian, and she's always like, when every noise goes off or something jumps. And I seriously, I've felt like her for years because it's just like, oh.
And you said even when you were really young, didn't you? Like,
yeah, really, really young. I used to run basically through my house and leap on top of the bed and then under the bedclothes because it was like, run through the gauntlet of spirit people as well, because you can shut it off. You've got to have a human life as well. But as I said, most of it is amusement for me, that I'm like, oh, look what's going on over there, and those people haven't even noticed. But it's just, these eyes are really, I explain this to people, these eyes are designed for this dimension. So you can pick up a lot of people say, peripheral movement. Yes, because your eyes are not focusing on something. So you'll pick up movement, flashes of light, shadows, that sort of thing, and think, oh, something moved over there. Yep. You'll pick up peripherally that people are around as well. But why on earth do we think that we just ourselves, there's only us in this dimension? It's just like,
100%.
That's a little bit flawed.
And it's a very Western thing as well.
Yeah,
most
very much so.
Other cultures don't operate like
that.
No,
a lot of cultures are very reverential about their past loved ones, their ancestors, and they literally include them. Here in New Zealand, our Maori people, they're very, very aware of the spiritual side of people passing. We just, I don't know why we like to close a book as Western people and go, right, mate, a person's dead. We're just not going to talk about it anymore.
Don't get me started on the way we grieve as
my goodness. It is heart-wrenching for me because you're still, grief is a certainty or loss is a certainty along the way. There's no way we should be compartmentalising it, packing it into a little box that nobody opens up, when actually those experiences, sometimes you need someone just to go, do you know, that absolutely sucks. I've had an experience and it'll be completely different from yours, but you're not alone in that because it feels so isolating and so lonely. So yeah, it's basically, I always remember I'd jokingly say to the kids, because a local fish and chip shop, when the kids were little, they were about 8 and 10, I think it was. The fish and chip, the little lovely Asian fish and chip shop owner, his dad died. And so the next time I went in for fish and chips, the dad was there, and he's like, "Oh, you need to talk to my son." And I'm like, "Absolutely not.
Yeah,
I'll
what do
never,
you do in those positions?
I'll never be able to buy fish and chips here again." So you can't actually, you have to use a level of discernment as well, because one thing that I had happen to me is I was left, I went to a reader. I desperately wanted to know, even though I knew Dad was okay, desperately wanted to know he was okay. And on leaving that reading, I was completely overwhelmed by grief. There's no way I should be have been driving or any of that. And I thought, right, if I ever look at doing this, I will make sure that people are actually cushioned in grief, that they're okay before they actually leave. And well, you can't be 100% responsible for people all the time. You can literally be aware that grief is incapacitating at times as well. So kind of try and have a rule a little bit that don't go to a reader until 6 months after your person has passed. Not because they won't want to talk to you, they want to talk to you straight away. It's just that you're so raw and so fragile, it's probably not a good idea, because you'll be taken out and thrown into that grief. And then on the other side, what people don't see happening is your person is beside themselves, that they can't hold you or hug you or look after you because they're not here.
Oh, that makes me sad.
I know. It's so I have people on you're managing then the spirit person on the other side of their grief. We're going, oh my gosh, they're not okay.
Oh,
and then you've got a person in front of you not okay.
Oh,
and so you're,
you're
managing both sides of that equation as well.
Just a few more questions around that. Like, do people always come through? Like, is it easier when people are open or in the depths of their grief, or does it just depend on who comes through? Because you haven't missed, when you've talked to me, I've had a friend that passed.
So no one, it's not dictated by you're going to sit in front of a reader and there's only going to be one person there. Basically, for everyone that you've met over your entire lifetime, there's this cool movie called The 7 People That I Meet on the Way to Heaven. But the movie actually says no one will be a coincidence that you've met. They've all shaped and formed your life. So you could have a school friend pop up or... what I had the other day, we couldn't work out who she was, and then it turned out that she was a neighbour that leaned over the fence and talked for 48 years sort of thing. So she'd come in to say hello. It's a little bit about just whoever really wants to talk and whatever they want to convey. If it's awkward situations, so maybe you might have had a person that left who was very difficult in this lifetime, they can rock up and want to apologise. There are some rules on the other side that literally as part of my understanding, I usually check in to see whether the person is wanting to actually talk to that person, because yes, they can turn up on the other side and have looked at their life path and gone, oh my God, I should have done some things differently. But you've also got to look after the person that's sitting right in front of you that maybe goes, I couldn't stand my dad, my mum, my auntie, whatever. They might not want to talk to them, and you literally have to say, no, I'm going to surrender to whoever's supposed to come through. I try and set the intention, could I please speak to the person that my person is most wanting to connect to, but the personalities remain the same. If you've got a bossy auntie that talked over everyone, she's still a bossy auntie. So they still
keep their same personality. And what are you doing over there?
Well, it's...
I've never really asked you these questions.
Yeah,
well, look at them.
Well, it's got as my dad used to say, I'm not floating around on a cloud. It's literally they can take roles. A lot of it falls into soul evolution. What do you want to... What's the next level up now that they've had the meat suit experience? Do they want to actually help you or stay with you? So if we come back to saying, why is your mum still around you? Well, she's got a vested interest in you, of who you are as a person, who you're evolving into, family dynamics, extended family dynamics.
Sorting out my relationship.
Yeah, she's absolutely. She's just like, I'm in there like Flynn. So she's just basically in the oversee position. Now, she chose it as she she left, to go into what I call the guardian position for you, which is to go, okay, well, I can't be there with you, but I can look after you. So that's part of her role as well. So she's making me laugh at the moment. She's just like, so I'm in your wardrobe, I'm looking at what you're doing.
She's not looking at too much.
They do have a tendency to go, they do use levels of discernment, but they still want to know what you're doing and what you're up to. And you'll notice that if you go to a reader that does connect you, they'll go, well, I've got this person here. Your mum, every time your mum turns up or makes me think I need to get in contact with you, she shows me her beautiful nails. So she had a real thing about being immaculate.
Well, I remember the first time you said that before, like the first time you connected with my mum, and that was the first thing you said, and I was like, that's 100% my mum, because she would not go anywhere without her nails done and her lippy on.
She's really gorgeous, and she does always show it to me. Like today, she's got a lovely pink on, so she must have favoured pinks.
Yeah.
And so it just makes me laugh, and she's not got a hair out of place today as well. So she's dressed up to the nines. So
I'm sure there'll be some people listening that know my mum. They'll be like, oh my god, that's 100%.
She's just really gorgeous, and she's
glam.
She's a very animated person when she talks as well, so she's just really lovely. But she's making me laugh because she's just like, sometimes she's like, she's telling me that she's your chief motivator sometimes, because she sees you going, I can't really be bothered. So she's in there, poke, prod.
That's her.
Yeah, that's her that's doing it. So the roles that we can take can be really subtle, but they can be very annoying at exactly the same time as well. But she touches your hair a lot. So when they like touching us, we don't feel it like someone touching us, but it can be a feeling like, is there a fly on my hair? That is your mum that actually does that quite a bit as well. So you just think there's something on my hair. No, there is a subtle way that mum has of touching your hair.
But I had a lot of signs early on, and that was another question I sort of had around spirit. Do they give you signs early on when you really need them, or is it more that you become accustomed to not having them there and you just don't notice the signs?
I think probably like there's two answers to that. It depends on the person. Your mum was a highly spiritual person as well. I mean, she's one of my clients. So, you know, she's really beautiful in her understanding that, her certainty that there would be something that she was going to. And then equally her certainty was, I will let you know that I'm going to be okay.
And so, I told her when she was here.
Absolutely. So she's just like, I will do that. So she's very good with songs and lyrics, which is an easy formula for them to use, right? Because in the levels of distraction, then sometimes you can be somewhere like even in the supermarket, and all of a sudden the lyrics on the loudspeaker just get really loud, and you're just like, oh wow, how did I heard it as background noise, and all of a sudden I heard that lyric, and you're just like, oh, that's for me. So that's what happens. And people go, oh, that's just coincidental. Okay then, if you want to believe that, because for the person that's looking for the sign from their person, they're going to get it anyway. You know, and people might say, oh, there was a feather that turned up out of nowhere, or, you know, I just was waking up and I was sad and I felt someone hug me. We literally, they are interacting. It's our levels of what we will accept as well. And I think probably, I don't remember one of my clients, she won't mind me saying it, was really lovely. She said her husband was very, very polite. He would always get up out of bed if he had to do a party and go into the hallway. He wouldn't come. And she said, I just knew he was okay, because she said, I felt the bed go down, and she said, like someone had got off it. And she said, then there was a fart noise in the hallway, and she said, I laughed my head off, because she said only he would do that. And that's the thing that's really, really lovely when you work with people for a long period of time. You actually hear the types of things that they will actually say, that they'll go, look, that was so unique that I knew that was my person, because only they would do that. So they will use whatever tool they possibly can to get you to see that it was a sign from them as well. And it might be, people say, you know, I had one the other day, and she said her dad her dad had this blackbird that he was fed on his lawn. And she said, well, it was really weird. She said, I had a blackbird come up to the door, the glass door, and go tap, tap, tap on my glass door. And I'm like, I've never had a bird do that before. And she said, it just made me think of Dad's blackbird. And I'm like, well, yeah, by association, right? It's like, I will utilise your bit of Play-Doh to give you any jigsaw puzzling, remember? I'll give you any piece of jigsaw puzzle piece that will make you actually think of me, and therefore you've connected with me. So they do that all the time. We just get really busy with life because the thing is with grief, and people carry a lot of grief with a lot of grief, they carry a lot of guilt. They're going, oh my gosh, I didn't think of my person today. Well, you're still living. You're meant to still live, and you're not meant to be caught in a loop cycle where you're so stuck in I'm going to call it the cruelty of grief because it feels really cruel. You're not supposed to be stuck in there every day.
Is that kind of in-between feeling when you feel guilt if you haven't thought about them and you think, oh man, was that even part of my life? But then you've got to carry on with your life. And
absolutely.
It's a weird place to be.
It is a weird place because people always say to me, if they've lost this person, they go, how long am I going to feel like this for? And I'm like, okay, well, if you want an honest answer, probably you're going to have grief for the whole rest of your life for them. But between 1 and 5 years, you're probably going to feel this way because there's distinct stages to grief.
Yeah.
There is that absolute, complete and utter disbelief initially that your person's not here anymore, and that's in year 1. And then in year 2, you're looking around going, everybody else has kind of moved on.
I think year 2 is actually harder.
Year 2 is horrific because you're still feeling the absolute pinch of the person not being here, but the world has turned and people have moved on. They've stopped checking in as much. They've stopped saying, are you okay? And you're just like, oh my gosh, has everybody forgotten that this amazing person passed? And you're just getting your head around it because don't forget, year 1 is complete and utter denial or disbelief that the person's not here anymore. Then year 2, you're actually processing. In year 3, you're processing even more that's got a level of acceptance to it, but you still don't want that acceptance either because you're just like, oh my gosh, like this isn't fair either. And that's when you're starting to have the realisations that there's more gaps in between you thinking about your person, and then you can feel really guilty because like, oh, I haven't reached out to them or they haven't reached out to me.
Such a wild ride.
It is, but in reality, it's just... is what's meant to happen because you're not meant to stay static in the awfulness of grief. It's soul destroying to stay there. So
you must see some really see people's energy shift after you connect with them. If they've lost someone in a really horrific way and they haven't seen anyone to connect to their person on the other side.
I think that's you talked about COVID, and I think in COVID nearly broke my heart because they did things medically that I just did not agree with in terms of I'm sorry, you can't go and see your elderly mother, father, aunt, whatever, because of COVID restrictions. And so I had a lot of people that had the awfulness of a lack of closure by not being able to say goodbye to their person. And that was horrific because not getting goodbyes is one of the main reasons people will come if you've lost someone tragically or you haven't been there while that person transitioned. Now, people will sneak off. So you might have someone who's passing of illness and the family, they go, oh, well, they seem a little bit stable, and then the family goes home to have a shower or whatever, and that person leaves, basically, and people go, oh, they left and I wasn't there.
They just didn't want you to...
No, they didn't want you. They didn't want you to suffer. They were staying for you. So while you took a break, they took a break. They left and... you even let them down by that happening. That's basically the person who's transitioning going, phew, you've taken the pressure off me staying and you've taken the pressure off yourself, and I'll just exit quickly sneak out while you're not looking so that you don't have to suffer anymore. So I understand the reasoning for doing that, but the person that is devastated that they went home to have a shower for 5 minutes and then their person transitioned, that's actually really hard for them. They carry a lot of guilt that they weren't there. Death is not the process half the time that they portray in a movie. We don't exit half the time very politely.
No.
Human bodies are noisy.
Yeah.
They Google. We do a lot of involuntary actions, and we can also sit up sharply, fall down sharply, choke. There's a lot of things, and I'm not saying that happens to everyone, but I have a lot of shocked clients too who come to find out if their person has actually found peace because they've actually been left traumatised by the actual death process as well. And nothing really prepares you for that, really. It's a little bit of a messy process. It's a little bit like birth. It's the other end of the equation.
Yeah,
so birth is messy, and departing at times can be messy. And you know, I remember my uncle when he was passing, he had lung cancer, and my dad was already on the other side. He said asbestos poisoning, and it had gravitated. And he said, "Is there an easy way to exit?" And I'm, absolutely. When you're transitioning and you can start to see everybody down around you in the room, because people turn up and wait for other people,
so like
family members, which is really beautiful. Grandparents, great grandparents.
So
There's
it's like
no time.
a reunion party.
Oh my gosh, it's a party-arty. It is such a party-arty. Yep, absolutely. It's like, woohoo. I used to, I was just finished with the story. Like my uncle, he said to me, well, what do I do? And I said, well, ask Dad, when you're ready to go, ask Dad to take your hand and pull you to the other side. Yeah. And my auntie rang me and she said, we just got him in the hospice. He'd been there for an hour and he just left. And I'm like, well, good. He didn't want to go to hospice anyway. Yeah. So he clearly asked Dad to take his hand and pull him to the other side. And that can only happen at a specific time, but it's a free will planet. You basically transition when you're due to transition. So you can say to someone, it's okay for you to go now, but they'll go when they're ready to go, not when we would like them to go, to make it nice and tidy for us. It doesn't work that way as well. But I used to jump to the in-between, I call it, the space between our world and the spirit world. Yeah. And it's a little bit like Grand Central Station. And I remember being in there, and an angel brought in this little old lady, and she'd been in hospital because she had the hospital gown on. And as she came forward, there was a group of like 15 people just waiting for her on the other side. And a man stepped forward, and she looked at him and she goes, oh, Eddie. And he goes, yes. And she goes, well, you're dead. And he's laughed and he said, yep. And so are you. And she goes, well, I wouldn't have a nightgown on then, would I? And he said, well, just think it's different. And it was just like click. And she was in this beautiful like twin set. Her hair was immaculate and everything. She was probably in her 90s, this beautiful woman. And he goes, now, isn't that better? And she said, yes. And she goes, does it mean I'm dead? And he said, absolutely. And she's like, oh. And she's looking at all the other people and realising that they're all past as well. They're all the people that she's catching up with. And her lovely husband taken her hand and just led her forward to the group, and they were all clustered around her going, welcome home, well done. There's a huge party when you get to the other side. The earth plane's hard work, everybody knows.
I've just got so many questions now. I'm just like, so what happens if there's like toxic, we don't have to go into it full ball, but like toxic dynamics, or if someone's cheated on the earth plane, then they have to reconnect with their ex back up there. It must be.
Well, it's kind of when you go through the veil, so the in-between is the space, it's like Grand Central Station. So you land there first, and what you do is you've landed there and you're completely in the meat suit shape that you were in, even though you're in spirit, right? Yeah. So you're there, that's the easiest transition because you've been anchored on the earth plane for maybe 90 years or whatever. You're 100% aware that you've got legs and arms and everything like that. So you're greeted in that way from the other side. Then mostly you'll be positioned there with the people that you most want to see. That's what you'll end up doing, is you'll get there and it's like, oh, this is the people that I most want to see. Then from that, you'll do a life review. And in the life review, which is completely done without judgment, by the way, you literally observe oh my gosh, I didn't see that I had another choice at that period of time, or I didn't see that I actually needed that betrayal from that person so that I could actually shape myself differently in my life. And I needed that. So you get to see all of that with impartiality. Also, in a life review, you get to see how the other person felt, which we don't do in the human form. So you just get all this wisdom and understanding. And so you process at a completely different level with impartiality. So without the human dynamics of you're a rotter and you're a ratbag and all that sort of thing, you go, oh my gosh, I learned so much. So we're now talking about complex soul agreements in the background here of why we incarnate together. So you'll see that person and you'll literally go, thanks for the learning that I got down here. So we're not quite as, I always say that when we're in an earth plane body, we're like an 8-year-old having a temper tantrum, basically, no matter how old we are, because we take all those feelings are very intense when we're incarnated.
And so when we go through the veil, it's sort of like we're watching a movie.
Yep.
We're in a game show kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, wow, I made that choice. What was I thinking at the time? And that's why I always say jokingly to people, you'll read did you read this small print on your soul contract and go, damn, I actually planned this for me.
Yeah,
because
I picked this.
Yeah, you planned it for yourself to have as many complex experiences that you can. So at the other end, you're looking at that and going, wow, I learned that. It's all about soul growth. I learned that. So these people signed up in your soul group for you to have an experience together. And it might be common threads we come to experience: abandonment, rejection, betrayal, so we can integrate what it feels like and how we deal with those feelings and whether we self-betray ourselves or self-abandon ourselves, all of those sorts of things. It's really complex. So this is one of the biggest learning realms you can come to as well. So I have seen somebody go to the other side that had like 4 husbands, and I think they've just put a movie out about it, actually. They've just done a movie recently about the dynamic of if you go to the other side and would you choose to be with that partner or would you choose to be that partner? That's very, very human, because in reality we love that person.
Everyone gets along on the other side.
Yeah, we love that person for what they brought to it, and we love
people
that
thinking
person
like, hell no, I'm not reconnecting with.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the other side, you don't have to stay with that person to the same sort of what did you just say then, Angel? Clinical dynamic that we look at it down here, because we basically go, oh, in monogamy, you have to be with this person for 30 years of your life.
So we're polyamorous on the other side.
Yeah, well, we're defined by the experience, you see, more than everything. I'm truly grateful for that experience. And so I love you for that, but I equally love you for that experience. There's no having to choose. There's just a mutual celebration of the experience that you actually had. So yeah, it's the other side is fascinating because it's just like it's just like a big school that you're just like sign up there.
Yeah, grounded if you have all that access to be able to go into these other rooms.
You wiggle your toes and go, right at the moment I'm in the meat suit. I'm in the meat suit. Yeah, and it's very much because I've met people an awful lot who say that they want to aspire to be more spiritual, and I'm like, I suggest you aspire to be more human right at the moment because that's what you're in. You're walking around in the meat suit, so you may be a spiritual being having a human experience, but you're going back there. So, and that's a given. So for a brief window of time.
Because I can't imagine it would be easy.
Maybe 80 years, you're here to have a little bit of this experience as well. So it used to make me laugh because I had this dynamic when I was a kid. This will make you laugh. I used to say to people, does it ever feel like you like this, like this, inside the meat suit? And they're like, no. And so I've been very aware most of my life I'm in something. So I feel like this a lot. Like I've got binoculars or looking out through binoculars because I'm very aware I'm in something. And our souls are, of course, travelling in this vehicle for this period of time.
Yeah, we had that conversation.
Yeah, before. Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, it's quite funny.
Oh, there's so many. I'm like wanting to go into like religion, different things, but I think I'll park that for now. I have to get.
Well, religion. Just briefly, religion is hilarious. Not in an awful way. We get very, very concerned on the earth plane with right and wrong. Down here. On the other side, you will pass under like whatever's acceptable to you. So if you wanted to believe that you're going to meet Jesus when
Right.
you pass, you will.
Yeah.
Anything that makes your transition easier.
So
If you believed in, the Quran, if you basically, a lot of the Indian traditions, with Shiva and all those sorts of things, you will transition under whatever makes you feel the easiest and most connected, so that your transition is easier. And that's why when we talk about near-death experiences, people come back and go, oh my gosh, the feeling of love, I was so loved, it was amazing, I didn't want to come back. You're literally cushioned at the time of your passing, into that complete understanding of unconditional love, which is really lovely. For suicide also, there's a space that I absolutely love on the other side. I don't know quite what to call it. It's a receiving space, but if you take your own life, you go to this space, which is basically, it's defined like almost like pure love. And you are literally loved into remembering who you are beyond the damage that you did to yourself on the earth plane in terms of your emotional state, your mental state, everything like that. You just
I think that is a
love.
question that comes up quite a lot, and I can imagine it comes up in your readings quite a lot about whether not only are they okay, but whether they go to the same place.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a common question people have said to me is there hell? If there's, heaven, is there hell? And I'm like, well, it's the hell that we do to ourselves, basically, as well. And I haven't seen anyone in terms of going to the other side that isn't cushioned and loved and looked after as much as possible. There isn't the punishment to the degree that we think that there is while we're in human form. We get very caught up on that right or wrong. And I think that here on the earth plane, suicide is very, very misunderstood in terms of the level of pain that we can be in through our own mind. Because you can't see it, it's not tangible, you can't touch it, then it's very hard for us to understand with the roles and the faces that we put on, how could I not see that the person was so much in trouble? Well, nobody can get in somebody else's mind. Your viewpoint of the world, everything like that, it's very personal, it's very, very hidden. And I guess sometimes people think of suicide as a failure. There's no failure with it. There was only pain that somebody wanted to get out of, basically. And people quite often say to me, but I should have. You could do should have, could have, would have's over anything, and it's not going to change anything at all. The best thing you can possibly do is put your hand on your heart and go, I tried my very best, but I wasn't expecting to know everything about everyone, because you can't. You literally can't. So they're simply loved into the remembering who they are on the other side.
That's beautiful.
It's such a beautiful space. It's beautiful. There's also on the other side, one of my favourite places to go to, I don't know if I've told you that, is a hall of prayers.
No.
So people still pray, which I didn't really realise. And it comes in it looks like silver mercury as it comes in. It kind of goes into a big pot.
When we pray down here?
Yeah, when we pray, it comes off because our thoughts all come out as basically tangible energy. So when we pray, it comes off as tangible. It looks like mercury, comes off as these lovely bubbles. And it kind of goes into that. So it could be, I pray that my person gets well from the operation that they're going to have. Off it goes into mercury, into a big pot. And it goes back out the other side as gold. It looks incredible. So it comes back out as a bubble and returns to that person as faith and hope. And then it comes back to the person who prayed. They get I feel good because I sent that prayer, and then it goes to the person who's receiving it as well. I love that space. The prayers coming in and the prayers being answered going out. They're just sometimes not in the formula that we think it should be, but they're not received, transmuted, and sent back.
Yes.
Here.
Well, there was another question. I knew if I asked friends what they want to hear, I'd get a million questions fired at me. So I asked one person, and she brought up a good point. She's like, I would love to see a psychic, and I believe in them, but I'm worried that if they say something, I'm going to hold on to that thing and then almost not plan my life by it, but it won't leave me, and I'll be really attached to that information.
Yep.
Good or bad.
Good, bad, or indifferent.
So the question really is Do you see us having free will, or is it more there are things that are going to come in on our pathway? We've kind of had this conversation. I think you see a few different things and a bit of both. So, yeah, how does that work? Because I'm sure lots of people are wondering that.
I think it's because a lot of people can say, that person left their husband because a psychic told them to do it. Okay then, but at the end of the day, the reason that person went to the psychic is because they had a niggle that they weren't happy, and it's a permissive state, right? So quite often we're all children in the meat, so we're waiting for someone else to give us approval that it's okay to do this.
True.
And so if you don't want to take accountability, then by all means, the psychic told me to do it.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You're only not taking accountability for a decision that you'd already made, that the psychic had picked it up because it was really important to you.
I think that's
so.
We're scared of going.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have a rule with upstairs, with spirit, that I will not tell you anything that you cannot deal with. So that's not anything bad. I also have a rule, I won't talk about exit points, which is where people die. You planned it yourself. It's got nothing to do with me. So at the end of the day, you don't need to know that. It's actually funny things happens. I get a mental image of Jack Nicholson out of A Few Good Men going, you can't handle the truth. No, they can't, because it will niggle away at them exactly like what your friend's talking about.
Placebo effect when we kind
of... Oh, look, I remember my sister got caught on this. I really felt for her. She went into a psychic when she was about 18 years old, and the psychic said to her, your dad won't make 60. And so she had been joking with Dad the week before he died, that looks like he'll make 60 after all. Well, he was 57, and then he was killed the following week, and she felt terrible that she had been teasing him about that before he actually passed. And it's things like that, yes, you can probably hold on to, but sometimes there's markers that have come up in spirit to actually help gently redirect a person away from what they're currently doing. Now, if they choose to redirect away from it, it's because subconsciously or at a soul level they knew that they were on that wrong pathway anyway. Most people already know. The highlighters, they're going to talk to you about things that are going on in your life anyway, so you already know. Isn't suddenly, right, you're going to move to Argentina and become a belly dancer. That person will go, what? No, I'm not. Because,
what if it's like, you're going to meet that person in 5 years, and then you're like, oh shit, no, I have to hang out.
Well, the thing is that normally when, I'll let Spirit answer that. Normally
don't do details like me.
Yeah, well, normally when they say something like that as well, is that they're trying to help that person remove themselves away from an instantaneous gratification and attachment. And so they're going, okay, well, we'll give you... Okay, thank you. And that also will give you a timeline because you asked for a timeline, but also there's a lot of flexible free will parameters within that time frame as well, because you base it when your internal energy matches where you're supposed to be, you'll have that connection basically. That's the way. So if you delayed it by 7 years, even though a psychic said 5 years, it was because your own evolution didn't get to that point until you were ready to get to that point. What's destined for you will never ever pass you by. Yeah. It's just that you are the person that's driving the whole experience at that period of time.
So you see like the highest timeline of that person, but ultimately they still have their choices. There might be some things that are set in stone, but there's other things that
absolutely. So the way it looks to me is like a weaving tapestry. That's what it looks like. So when I'm working with someone, I'm actually working in what Spirit calls the threads of probability. So within the threads of probability in a tapestry of lives, you have probably like an 80% chance of going down that pathway, and over here are the rest of your threads, which might be your 20% markers, right? And so I'm going, show me the thread that's probably the most probable outcome as well, realising that at any point in time, because of free will, you can jump off that thread and go to one of these lesser threads, which might take you on a little bit of a scenic route, but you'll still come back to your main thread of probability, basically. And the threads of probability are really like marker points that says this is what your soul is wanting to achieve at that period of time as well. But for every choice, there's another choice. There's no wrong. There's only experiential choices. So, yeah, you can derail it. I use analogies a lot for people so they understand. So there was a movie called Sliding Doors, and she basically, what would happen if she got the train or she missed the train? Same thing, it will take you off in a completely different direction, but it's not the wrong direction. People always say to me, but what if I get it wrong? Oh my gosh, you can't. You're going to segue off over to here and make some decisions that work okay in that period of time. I mean, people make me laugh and they go, oh, well, you said I'd meet a person and I didn't. I'm like, okay, because it, again, has nothing to do with me, because if you missed an opportunity, and I remember one lady, it was right there, I said, you're going to go away this weekend, someone's going to come up to you in a bar and offer you their number. If you don't take their number, you're not going to meet that person again. It's a random chance meeting that's showing up as an opportunity. Well, she rang me the following week and she goes, that happened, but I got the willies and I didn't take his number, so how do I get him back again? And I'm like,
was your man.
you can't get him back again. It's there's chance meetings all the time, there's opportunities all the time. It's whether in your free will you're going to follow through on it. Is there anything to fear? Not really, because you're in control of it. You can go, I watch people, they get told something, they're like, oh, I'm not doing that. And I say to Spirit all the time, you guys deliberately did that so that they go, I'm not doing that, and they get back on the pathway that they're supposed to be on anyway. So I'm like, oh, you guys.
Reverse psychology.
Yeah, absolutely. And they will do it that way as well. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's like, they're not doing it to be manipulative like what we would think of down here. They're doing it for, the universe is always working for you. It's not working against you. It's like, okay, we'll take any way we can to encourage you. So we might use a reverse psychology, but we're trying to encourage you to get back on your pathway.
And then like the tragic exit points with young people pass, and they
teacher
are
souls.
Right, so they are here to teach people around them things.
Absolutely. So my nephew left at 19. He took his own life, and I had been teaching him about the other side. So I was really cross with him when I found him on the other side, and I said, I didn't teach you about spirit for you to leave. And he said, no, but you were teaching me about love. And in the 2 years he'd had mental health issues really, really badly. But for 2 years, we'd been talking about that he was, numerology, he was a 6, which is a big love person. And he said he worked out that he could teach them more about love by not being here than he could still persisting. So for 2 years he'd told them how much he loved them and everything like that. So gone from being estranged to being back in the world, and talking about how much he loved them as well. And then he left with that. And yeah, I don't think he saw it as any other way, but did he teach everybody as he left? 100%. So they normally are teaching so much as they leave, because again, that grief that cracks you wide open, and you look at it differently. There's evolution that comes instantaneously through losing people. So
Okay, well, I think you answered that question. We have free choice realm, but also things that we will not miss.
No, absolutely. Pivotal things that you've planned on your soul pathway, you're not going to miss.
And every soul has a specific thing they need to do down here.
Things. It's very, very complex. Okay. So, yeah, you might come to experience...
all my life questions in one.
Well, you might come to experience abandonment, rejection, betrayal, grief, success, all sorts of things depending on what you factored in as well. And then in your soul group that you've teamed up to do it with, because no one's a coincidence, then you'll go, okay, I came to accomplish this with you. Now, if that person does not remember or isn't activated into their own soul learning at that period of time, then there's another opportunity that'll cycle round in a different way, shape or format. But the subtlety that goes on in soul level learning is extreme. So we can go, hey, you're doing something, and you make a phone call to a girlfriend, and that girlfriend doesn't respond the way that you want them to, and you just think in that moment, do you know what? I think I've learned enough from this. I'm not having a conversation about this again. You just did a soul marker. You just passed a soul marker that said you made a decision in yourself that you're not going to have a conversation about this ever again. That was one of them. That was one of your soul contracts with yourself, is to have that realisation. So it's very, very subtle. And so people go, I was supposed to come down here and heal this relationship with this person, and we can all say that we've been there and done that. But in reality, it's a free choice realm. If that person doesn't activate at their soul level to say, yes, we can sort this out, then you won't. Doesn't matter. You might try it again in another lifetime. But we get very caught up that the other person hasn't got on board with where we're supposed to be. They just didn't. So move forward, refocus on yourself and keep going. Otherwise, you're going to get caught in a loop cycle that says, a karmic loop cycle, I'm going to be angry forever because that person didn't wake up or didn't realise what they were supposed to do. You gave it a chance. That's it. That was all that was ever expected. There is no... We're very black and white down here that... particularly with relationships, like you're supposed to be the best dad ever and for the whole of my life, and then you go, oh, dad just turned into a completely different person and went off and did something different, or mum went off and did something different. Yeah, they were supposed to. They had their own individual soul pathway contract with themselves that had nothing to do with you. Human beings expect everything to be stable, static, non-changing.
You're actually on my next point, because I want to talk about relationships. I do want to talk about just the general times we live in, but we'll go relationships first. So with that static, non-changing, I was going to ask, what have we got wrong about, not wrong about relationships, but where do we need to change collectively with relationships? Because we both know lots of things, and lots of things are sort of collapsing at the moment, and I think people don't, with this whole emphasis on setting boundaries and protecting your peace, and then it's like, yeah, but should I be connecting with them because they're part of my family? And then there's the relationship stuff of I'm growing, they're not growing at the same rate. I just think there's lots going on.
Oh, there's a huge amount. We're basically coming out of, like, I'm going to encapsulate it as saying like a 300-year programming that says in relationships you should be joined at the hip with this person for your entire life. So it could be an intimate relationship or a familial relationship, on the basis that they're your family, so you should tolerate everything that they're going to do and put up with it. No. So we basically, the collective consciousness is finishing off that energy, and it's meant to, because it's actually love is sacrifice. So if you loved me in codependent relationships, if you loved me, you'd do everything for me. Well, that's very controlling. So we're ending up controlling situations, and we're coming into the new energy, which is kind of a lead by example energy in reciprocal relationships. The whole of the planet has to change, because in our relationships, we're failing at those relationships because it's so controlling. There's no room for you in that relationship. There's only room for what you do for another person. So, of course, people are feeling the collective change, and they're literally, relationships are falling over left, right and centre right at the moment, familial ones, intimate ones. You've learned enough. You've simply learned enough.
How do you know when a relationship is no longer meant to be?
When there's things happening within the relationship that insult your soul. That's the best way of saying it. So if there's a part of you that goes, and we're very good with external projections within relationships. We forget that we're mirroring each other in relationships mostly. And so we can go, I don't want to be with this person anymore because they're doing that to me. Well, nobody does. They can do something, they can have an affair, they can betray you, whatever, but in reality you might have been betraying yourself because you weren't happy, you were staying there anyway, and then you get ticky because the other person's made a faster move than what you have. I don't think so.
So really every action is a mirror to look and see what we are wanting.
Yeah, absolutely. So the universe is responding all the time, and we're just players really in the play of our own life. But what we're not kind of figuring out is the person that you got together with when you were 19 is not going to be the person the next week or the next week or the next week. We're in a constant state of evolution. So to say that there's only one person that you're going to be with for your entire life is a little bit limiting, because you don't know who you're going to evolve into, and you're going to change over your entire lifetime. And sometimes we're not humble enough just to go to call it and be vulnerable enough to just go, do you know what, we're just completely different people. Some people do, they're very good. We're just completely different people now, and we actually don't suit each other anymore.
But some people can be in that long term.
Most of the time you'll find that someone's learnt to compromise massively to keep the other. There will be a dominant personality under that old
Because
regime.
I remember asking you, how many people do you think there's that whole conversation around, is there one person or is there people that are good for you? Is there one person you're meant to be with, or people that are good for you?
No, there's not one. There's about 16 people that you're meant to be with in one lifetime. And I remember saying that at a workshop,
16.
and one lady said, oh, no, there's quite a few people I've been with. Is it more than 16? And I'm like, no. It's about, I said, I'll quantify that. There's a potentiality of you having not just intimate flings or whatever relationships, but there's about 16 people you could potentially partner up with.
16?
Yeah, absolutely. But
across the world?
Yeah, 100%. But you, or more, but you are not looking at it going, I love the way that my guide's just explaining it. She says you are literally coming at it looking for what you perceive as the mirror image of yourself, right? So you have a whole lot of rules and conditions. So you meet the person that you're supposed to, one of the partners that you're supposed to be with, and you're like, oh, I'm not dating someone that's got no hair. So you've judged it on an external appearance, right, because of the insecurity that you're in at that period of time. So Bob, contestant number one has just passed you because you've put a rule and condition on what that person's supposed to be like. Now, that's why people talk about the one, which does my head in.
Because I've actually ignored 15
The one,
of those.
the one for you is literally you in your lifetime. And when you get out of your own way, then you find a person that you can literally tolerate, which sounds really terrible. You're not tolerating them, but you've got to a level where you've literally gone, okay, I admire a lot of these things in this person. They will be your own things. You're just projecting, because when people say to me, but I was really in love with that person, I'm like, no, you weren't. You were in love with how you felt about yourself when you were with that person. In reality, that had nothing to do with that person. You could feel like that without that person being around, if you let yourself feel that way. But we quite often blur it and say, I only felt like that because of that person. That's not strictly a truth. You felt like that, but you told yourself it was because of that person. So we're very naive, if you like, when it comes to realising what we're projecting, what we think that other person, and love is amazing, and you can have a counterpart because we need counterparts to learn about ourselves as well. So you can have masculine, feminine, masculine, whatever format that looks like. It's not defined by gender, to be perfectly honest, but you're not connecting with yourself. You're going, that's an external person, person.
That's how we know, back to if like a relationship's run its course, is because there's codependency.
Normally there'll be trigger moments, or there might be codependency, or the bad habits that you've got into with that person, and you're like, I can't do this anymore. That bit where I said it insults your soul is literally that you've got to a threshold where you've learned everything that you could possibly learn from that person. So you either surrender and just settle into, this is my best friend energy, and we'll go through life together, which is the basis of long-term relationships, to be perfectly honest.
And you're saying it doesn't have to be like that.
We get caught up in a lot of what evangelists is calling zing. You know, you say you were brought up in a very dramatic environment, then you literally go, I have to be with a person that mirrors inadvertently that drama, so I need intensity and fighting and arguing and that sort of thing to feel that's what love feels like to me. So we're very caught up in dynamics of experiences that we've already had. I don't think our society helps with this because questions I ask when I'm working with people in relationship stuff is, right, did you love Beauty and the Beast? Did you love Snow White? Yeah. Because you can have your Prince Charming, but what happens when he leaves skin marks in his undies and doesn't change the toilet roll and drops his socks all over the floor? He's no longer Prince Charming. He's infinitely human.
Kind of been told lie a little bit about.
Well, you're just going to hold that against him when he's only being a human being, right? So what makes me laugh is our ability to create an illusional character that we want our person to be, and then get mortified that they're a human, and we're going they, when in reality you might have run round after him and picked up all his socks and changed the loo roll, and he's just gone, oh, I thought she was happy doing that, because you kept doing it.
And you didn't say anything.
Because
that's also something as women we can practice, is actually speaking up, isn't it?
Hugely. I mean, a lot of our programming as feminine has been to keep we're natural nurturers usually, but we've been programmed by our parents, female and grandmothers, to look after our masculine as well. Now, masculines only do one or two things. You're either the mother and the counsellor, and I feel a lot of women cringe when I do that, or you're the lover and the best friend. Now, if you're the lover and your best friend, you go, oh my God, pick your own shit up. I'm not doing it for you. So, and then you don't worry about it. But, you have
to release control around that.
Honestly. And when I say to women, you're actually being really controlling. If you're following them out and going, you don't hang the washing up right, you are being controlling, because it doesn't bother him. You're letting all his behaviour, and that's the demise of relationships. A lot is women or men can be in relationships going, you need to turn up exactly like me. And so initially you go, oh, these are the quirks that I loved about this person. Then 5 years down the track, these are the quirks that really annoy me about this person. I'm like, okay, you're overly focused on them. They're just being themselves. Yeah. So we have all these expectations about what a relationship should look like, when basically I explain to women at the moment, the reason the Miley Cyrus song I Could Buy Myself Flowers was so popular is because you can. If you like flowers, stop expecting him to buy them. Go buy them for yourself. And they're like, oh, women go, well, doesn't that mean that he's not got chivalry or he's not a romantic? Well, he might not be. Have you asked him whether he's a romantic? Did you tell him what was important to you? Oh, I've dropped lots of hints. Men are not subtle. They're not subtle. Go do this as a really good trick if you're in a long-term relationship. Go and buy a really expensive bunch of flowers for yourself and put it on the table. Write in a card, from me to me, but put it on the table. Your partner will walk in and go, oh, who's the flowers from? Straight away. So what you've got to do is it's an education process of what's important. If it's important to you, men are action-based, they will follow your example. If
and
we
women
wait,
have to be open to that, as
100%.
you've talked about.
100%. Instead of having expectations, and the expectations are invisible, right? Because nobody mentions them. I expected him to open the car door for me, and he didn't. Well, did you tell him?
Yeah.
And did you tell him it was important to you?
What's important to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And did you do it by doing it for yourself first, so it really anchored in that he realises that that's really important? Yeah. And the same for men. If men want a lovely, amazingly dressed up version of the female that they want to be with, then guys, you better pay for that. You better take them to the spa. You better take them to the hairdressers. You better fork out for that if that's what you want, and tell your person it's important to them, because at the end of the day, I mean, we judge the earth plane an awful lot by what people look like, not who they are, right? So if you're going to fall for that, that's like, would you just say then? That's like buying Rose's chocolates where someone's muddled up the flavours in the middle and you go, well, that's not Turkish delight. Well, you bought it by the package on the outside. You need to... Because people say to me, is this the one? It always reminds me. They go, is this the one?
I
I'm
bet
like,
you hear that all the time.
well, this is the one that you need right at the moment. That'll show you your insecurities, because that's what interpersonal relationships do. They teach you about yourself. So yeah, this person that you've got right now that might break your heart and hurt you will be perfect for you, because you'll stop sacrificing yourself when somebody does that to you. So there is no right, there is no wrong. There's only an expectation that person should be perfect, right? Well, they are perfect for what you're going to experience with them. And women say to me, I didn't ask for him to betray me. Or men say, I didn't ask for her to leave me. And I'm like, well, no, but what were you doing that was actively working within the relationship to connect, to conversate, away from invisible expectations? So you actually got to vulnerability. You actually got to truthful alignment. And the new energy is pushing this. So any illusional relationships, codependent relationships, sacrificial relationships, they're out. We lost those with the year of the snake disappearing, and we're into reciprocal, honest, raw, different levels of communication. We're about to see a new planet over the next 6 to 7 years.
And it can be quite hard if you are someone who values honesty and vulnerability to actually not feel like you're too much or connect on that level. But as you said, that you start matching people at that level when you're comfortable in it in yourself.
Very much so. As soon as you aren't, it's a little bit this way, I'll say to women, if you're going to go out in the dating scene and you're not emotionally available for yourself, you are a massive magnet for emotionally unavailable men. And the same if you're, because the thing is, you're going to match the frequency of whoever. So if you doubt your self-worth, or you're insecure about your looks or whatever, you'll get somebody that literally comments about your looks or comments about your self-worth or whatever. And it's so that the universe can use another tool to help you grow, which is another person. And I don't know how many people that I see, they go, oh, they forget one thing as well, because we're not taught it. Past the age of 26, you will not get that zing of intensity that we say is chemistry with somebody. There's actually a trauma response that says warning, warning, body response that actually says, this has activated all my visceral body responses that says that there's a warning around this person. We quite often go, oh no, it's chemistry, and then go, oh gosh, they were a rotter.
It's familiarity.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, it's quite, there's just not a lot of educating, because you'll literally do what happened in your own family dynamic, and you'll literally follow that subconsciously without actually realising it. So, yeah,
I did an episode on attachment style, so go back and listen to that one.
Awesome.
As we're on the back of relationships, because that was all super helpful. First of all, how do you see children in terms of connecting with spirit? Because I know that they're quite open to a certain age.
From 0 to 10 years old, you've got basically a little bit like you're in a hypnotic state, really. So you're just absorbing everything. But up to 10 years old, the pathways are there to be able to see and hear spirit as well. Normally about 10 years old, we're really anchoring in logic. So logic side of things says, you know, it looks like a chair, is a chair, it's tangible. So we start to really focus on that. We would need to keep the part of ourselves open as children to just go, yep, I saw that. But you think about it, you know, you've got maybe a 4-year-old who goes, Mummy, there's a lady standing right beside you. And you go, oh, no, there's not. Then that child immediately says, oh, I kind of got that wrong. So they stop saying what they've seen because there wasn't a harmonious platform to allow that to land right. So we start to close down. You think about it, we start to close down what we say, how we say it, because somebody else hasn't given us approval. So I have a lot of people that say, oh, when I was a kid I could see and hear spirit, but it gave me the willies, or my mum growled about it, and so I stopped actually doing that. So that happens a lot.
Might have been like me and had made up friends.
Yeah, and we were talking about that the other day. Imaginary friends, if you've got children with imaginary friends, are probably not imaginary. They could be either siblings waiting to come through, souls that didn't get to come here, or just parallel souls that are keeping company as well.
Okay,
so, yeah, it's very, very fascinating. Family dynamics, when souls incarnate into your family, you choose your parents for the learning that they will bring you. I know I've said that to my two a couple of times. Well, you chose me, it's on you. For the learning that they will bring to you, as well as part of your life experiences as well. And one thing not to ever forget with children is that the meat suit may be young, but there's an old soul inhabiting that, and they come in with innate wisdom as well, depending on the experience too. So we have a tendency to dismiss that kids wouldn't understand, when probably your child is way more understanding than what you do. You've just become really anchored in the way that you believe things over your lifetime, and that becomes a limitation.
And the neurodivergence is also sort of partly, because it seems to be quite common, but I'm like, is it because people are getting diagnosed more, or is it because spiritually?
I think in this, like the constant evolution of humanity, to be perfectly honest, and I can't explain it to people this way. Look, years ago when I was working with spirit and I was trained, like came through the era, you know, where Doris Stokes was really amazing, and the lady that trained me, she could do ectoplasm. So literally ectoplasm would come off her and form into like roses and that sort of thing. And I said to spirit, ectoplasm is basically like the energy that comes off you forming into an actual matter and actually becoming a tangible thing. She could do things like that. It was incredible. But, you know, like the knocking and the tapping and everything like that. And I said to Spirit, why did you stop that? And they said, well, we were becoming into an age where there was, you know, computer-generated graphics and all of those sort of things, but also humanity became more cerebral. So we became more curious about our minds. We had Carl Jung come through. We had started to look at the psychology of human beings and all those sort of things. So we're changing and evolving. So as we're going forward, if you think that generationally we can only change platforms and change limitations through the kids that are starting to come through, well, they belong to the future. And then the future and the new energy that we're going forward, there's a lot more reciprocal energy, being more open to different things, neurodivergency, that's all part of it. We're going beyond limited thinking into bigger platforms of capacity for emotionalism. Now, the ADHD, autistic side of things, the kids are really in touch with their emotions, and we're going into more emotional platforms to do with on the earth plane, the rawness, the honesty, the expression of emotional states, whereas my generation, I'm Gen X, they were literally, shh, you don't talk about your feelings, ugh, that's yucky, be seen, not heard, don't rock the boat, you know, it's a completely different. So the universe in its infinite wisdom goes, well, that's not working. Let's bring through it a generation of kids that are really in touch with their emotions, and we've labelled them as autistic or difficult or on the spectrum or whatever. They're just really big feelers. So yeah, the universe is always trying to correct and work for us in terms of the limitations that we've put on ourselves as well. So for me, it's fascinating to watch, because I'm just like, people are like saying, oh my God, my kids are just out of the box, they're just really hard to control.
Yeah.
So we're going from a really controlling element
Yeah.
into a much more free-form flow element, right? So the kids are going to be like this. And I'm like, look at the gift of what they can teach you. You know, if you're a Gen X that's been, or a millennial or a parent that's just been really anchored in control, and you end up with a loose cannon child who's come to break those rules and change everything, you need to go, woohoo, we got one out of the box, a unicorn, and let them be the unicornness, because otherwise you're going to try and bend them to a limitation that they just can't. They're not here for that role. They came to be themselves. And the rule of thumb from Spirit is, can you not just love them? Because that's what we should be doing with people. We should be celebrating their quirkiness, their oddness, not trying to control them, and just go, what a genuine delight I have this person in my world, right? Because, and we should do that with our partners too, because otherwise you're trying to model them into what?
Yeah.
Something that suits you.
That makes you feel more safer.
Perfect.
I've done that before.
Yeah, everybody does.
I don't know how long we've been speaking for, but I want to just a few more things. Talk about health and like where we're heading with that, because I think we're both on the same wavelength when we see what's coming in terms of the body being really incorporated in the way that we're healing. We know that chronic illness is on the rise. I think a lot of people listening will have potentially had some lingering health stuff, and I think emotions being in alignment with what's true to you is a massive piece of the puzzle that's missing out of Western healthcare.
Yep.
What do you see the future of like where health's going, or the way we deal with health?
Certainly, I think that we're not terribly good when it comes to health. We've had a lot of programming. If you look at over the last 300 years, we're like, okay, I've got a pain in my digestive tract. I'm going to go to the doctor, and the doctor's going to go, well, yes, you do have a digestive tract. We're going to start a process of needle in a haystack to try and find out what's wrong with you, basically. Not really realising that you're, again, sourcing externally an answer for something that's been created in you, right? And we're not very good with being told, well, it's your body, whatever emotional states you're going to create in it, or whatever experiences you're supposed to have in your body, you're going to be directly responsible for the creation of that. And
because we're not programmed to think that way.
No, not at all. And if you think, we'll bring it back, Spirit has asked me to bring it right back to kids. If you've got a child and they fall down and they scrape their knee, then they're literally going to wail, maybe roll on the floor a little bit, and actually really focus on expressing that emotional state.
So true.
So that they then, address the wounding, get the nurturing, get the response that they want,
they look
clear
for
it.
a safety cue from their parent.
100% about where they can actually be. Now, if we let them do that, that's a full circular process, right? This happened, I felt this, I didn't get shut down, I was safe to do this, I was safe to express it. You think of yourself as an adult, and I'll use myself as an example. I was leading a lady in my gate, and it was a new house, and I'd forgotten that the path was unstable. Turned around, tripped over, fell in the garden. Got up, I did, and I said to her, I'm so sorry, that wasn't really meant to happen. Walked inside and I thought, I've got a bruise the size of Mount Vesuvius on my hip, and I've still got to sit here when I really want to cry and do the reading that I'm going to do. So I'm going to pretend that nothing's happened, and I'm going to just keep going with the reading. Where did I put all that emotion? Where did I put all that? It took weeks for that bruise to heal, weeks and weeks and weeks, because I literally anchored it in through no expression, for not taking the time that I should have done to actually look at it. And I'm talking about, this is like a minor example, but you think about it as reinforcing that over and over again. where is that disharmony going to go in your body, right? So we go, oh, it was just energy, it was just intangible. Nope, it's energy, it's now stuck. You've stuffed it somewhere, you've suppressed it, you haven't rolled around the floor like kids do and actually let it out. You've anchored it somewhere, and then you'll just keep feeding it.
But it's the self-abandoning that actually we even have to recognise when we're doing it. Like, I still do it all the time, but it's noticing it first in subtle ways when we actually take the role.
Absolutely. Permissive states and self-acknowledgement, you are not putting somebody else out. You are nurturing, self-regulating, looking after yourself so that dis-ease is not stored in the body, then reinforced in the body. Because it's a little bit like, they're giving me an analogy at the moment of the lion that had the thorn in its paw and it needed the mouse to pull it out. Well, that's fine. You can literally say, gosh, I've that was a painful experience. I've put it in my liver. And so it's like the thorn. It's created a weak spot. And then for every time that somebody lets you down, then you keep adding it onto your liver. Then you keep adding it onto your liver. Then you go to the doctor and you're like, I've got problems with my liver. Or I've got a lot of pain in my liver, and then you're down a rabbit hole process with your doctor going, let's do blood tests and find out why your liver levels and your enzyme levels are not doing what they should do. We think we should put you on some medication with that. Okay, lovely, but what started the thorn in the first place? Yeah.
And people, I think, also have this real distinction between, but these physical markers that's not to do with stress or emotion, but it's like, hello, the stress and the emotion impacts the nervous system, which changes the physical markers.
Absolutely. And by the time you noticed it, it is physical. I'm afraid.
Yeah.
You've reinforced that puppy so much that you've now got a physical process that you then want to take to a doctor to make them responsible for it and help you sort it out when you've actually caused the anomaly in the first place. So you have to go, okay, I see a lot of people, they'll go, oh my gosh, I've had this digestive tract problem for my entire life. And I'm like, okay, because if you break it down really simply and you go, what can't you stomach about your life? They go, oh, I've had a mother who's driven me nuts for years and I can never say what I want to say to her and I can't stomach her behaviour. If you put it into straight body talk, then you would find that people would talk completely differently. That person gives me the shit. That person pisses me off. They're in my bladder. There is, if you made it that basic, that sounds terrible, but you're literally going to say that some of the slang terminologies that we use are actually way more telling about what you've actually done as well. Why do you have breast cancer? You'll probably find that you were not nurtured or looked after properly in that dynamic which enables you to regulate your feminine emotions, or you've lodged it in your uterus and you've got endometriosis. Yes, you can have genetic links to familial issues to do with the meat suit, but emotionally, if that's then like the thorn, right? That is the thorn that's waiting to be triggered by the way that you treat yourself. So if I have really low self-worth and I don't see myself as a valuable female, woomph, endometriosis activated off that wee thorn that was already there to be triggered.
Have you seen things like endometriosis heal before?
Basically, there's thresholds, if you like. So say somebody's activated something so detrimentally and that thorn from the family genetics is there, then once it's in full-blown activation mode, you're in a process that you have to go through the process to actually decide how you want to heal from this. Is it a medical fix that you do, or do you actually look at it in terms of how can I help nurture myself in a complementary way to that process? But once you're in the process, you're in the process. Because what's that process going to teach you? To look after yourself. More than what you were before it actually started. So I think of it as like a rolling ball. You can stop the ball, but you've got to catch the ball and stop the ball in the middle. If it's rolling in its way over there, then you're running to try and catch up to that process. You'll have to spend an equal amount of investment to help that heal, to be perfectly honest, because you reinforced it and reinforced it and reinforced it until it became a physical issue. Now you have to deal with the physical issue.
So heading into the future, not only do we have to look at our health holistically, but dealing with our stress and emotions will be
hugely,
because things will speed up, right?
It very much so. And the thing is that it's an anchored reality. You haven't noticed the niggle first. So the first thing a lot of healers are talking at the moment about the nervous system is literally stop. How are you responding right now? Have you braced in your diaphragm to the drama that somebody else is going to bring? Or you're walking down the street and you say, oh, crikey, there's that guy that I caught up with last week. He drove me nuts and now he's coming towards me, bracing myself. Okay, I'm suddenly hanging there. And you've got to start paying attention to the way that you're responding in the body all the time. I mean, I caught up with someone yesterday and I was painting for the first time in ages and I thought, you know, I'm not on guard or I'm not watching or I'm just genuinely enjoying catching up with that person. Imagine if you're catching up with like a family member that you just don't want to catch up with. Your tension's rife in the body, you're holding on to it, there's going to be drama. That's all pouring into the body, and then you leave that place and you're mentally and physically exhausted. Well, you've got all that trapped in the body. Like, keep reinforcing that, and you're like, oh my God, my back is killing me. Burdens of responsibility.
So you're saying it's actually okay to actually not even be and put yourself into that situation?
If you, in this new energy, because it's about authenticity, alignment, and consciously choosing, you can literally, and it isn't about being hurtful, it's about I deeply honour that I'm not, I don't
have the capacity.
I don't have the capacity. My body's saying, I can't do this. This person is exhausting me. So you've got a choice in that moment. You can either go, okay, I need to look after me and stop taking on the emotional responsibility of that person every time I see them because I'm the one that's suffering for it. Or I can use a level of discernment that just says, no, I'm not seeing that person today because my soul doesn't feel like it and my body is telling me it's not a good idea.
Yeah.
We're going to get a lot more in the noticing of how our body actually responds to people, and that discernment is going to tell you where the alignments are that you want to have with people. Not letting anybody down. You're letting yourself down if you're going and spending a whole afternoon with your toxic family members that you just can't stand and telling yourself that you're a good person for doing it, while then you're basically going to the doctor and they're going, well, you actually have... you actually have an anomaly in your bladder because you're so pissed off that you spend time with these people that your bladder's gone out. Because bladder is pee. It's literally, if you, as I said, terrible slangs, but your bowel is other people's crap, holding it into there. Your bladder is how many situations piss you off, basically, because basically it generates pee.
Yeah.
Buzz, if you like. It's just, I get the giggles about it because I can't take anything that too seriously. I'm just like, how are we not being educated that this is a pocket and whatever disharmony energy that you're putting into it is like that little thorn you've just planted something that's just going to keep almost like adhering until you've got something in your body, and then you have to go, now I have to look at it. Now I have to look after myself, when you actually should have been looking after yourself in the first place.
These poor people on the podcast get that every single week.
But good to know. You're your own. You're the centre of your universe, and you're your own problem in the nicest possible way. Am I the drama? Yes, you are. You are the drama.
I think I'm going to have to potentially get you back when the time is right to talk a bit more about mental health and AI, and there's a few other things, but we have been talking for quite a while. So I guess last question, anything for me in the coming year, what do I need to be focusing in on?
Well, I have to bring your mum through because she's standing right behind you anyway as well, and she's been fiddling with your hair the whole time. And she's lovely here. She's actually doing that, but she's just said that she's actually giving you a really big dollop of the courage to say the things that you want to say, not cushioning it because you're cushioning it. If you're cushioning anything, you're cushioning it so it's more digestible for somebody else, right? So It's just about being free enough to actually go.
That's her fault.
I know, and she's 100% aware of that because she said she taught you to be very good and turn up in the best possible way. But she said that was for her, not necessarily for you, because she's telling me that at times where you did say exactly what you think, she was a little bit taken aback that
I
you'd
used to be like that.
say it, and she'd be like, "Oh, where did you come from?" She always had admiration for your sass. She's just telling me, but she wanted to both encourage it, but she had the willies with it at exactly the same time. So it was a very
She's a little bit conflict avoidance.
yeah,
a little
very
bit
much so.
annoying when I.
And she said that you did like to poke the bear, so you did like to just kind of reiterate
It was a
that.
little bit challenging.
And
at
she said
times.
that she goes, bring that formula to the whole of your life.
Yeah.
Because she said you're thinking too much rather than just going, stuff it, I just want to do it anyway and I don't care about the consequences. She said you can't get anything wrong, but she said there's people for you to meet, places for you to go and things for you to experience if you just change that little bit of formula.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how cool, it's not much.
Yeah.
So she's like, she's playing me that Wilson Phillips song, Break Free from Those Chains, and I'm just like, yep, don't be thinking of the impact of anything that you do for anybody, just do it because you want to do it.
Yeah, and I said that on the last episode, just the threads of responsibility.
Yep.
I can easily step into other people's shoes. So the empathy levels.
She called it 5 minutes of empathy. She said you don't need any more, I don't know why she's talking about study, but she just said you don't need to study anything else. You have enough information with the gentle wisdom that you have stored in you to be able to grab that empathy for 5 minutes of empathy, she says, and go, okay, but none of that's mine. And she said sometimes the truth is, she's showing me you're about 12 years old and you're arguing with her on something and she's taken aback by it, but she's literally says sometimes you need to be that black and white like you were at 12 years old with some of your clients to go, actually, I'm not cushioning this, you are causing this problem, and how you can stop causing this problem is by stop doing this. And she said, remember at 12 years old you were so sure that you were right, so she said that you can gift that back to you because most of the time that you are. And when you're in that surety, she said, this is when you're truly alive because you're in touch with yourself, your knowledge and your wisdom. And she goes, she just wants you to bring that back as well. And she's making me laugh because she just said that you were pretty on fire at that period of time in your life.
I was on fire. I was on my teenage years.
Yep. She said that they were awesome, but she said you're watching other people too much, going, I should probably tone me down. She goes, we would like to tone you up, because she said you've got a voice that needs to be heard, and she said it's your year to stamp your feet and go, right, we need to do some things different.
Right, watch out everyone.
I love that. She's absolutely adamant, because she said you're always going to have the travel, you're always going to have the people, but she said you actually came to teach people, and she said maybe they're just not listening because you're not saying it firmly enough. I'm like, that's a really good point.
Yeah, there's a few things I could be firmer on.
Yep, she's just like, if you believe it, then it's inspirational for other people to follow your example. She said, she said it isn't about yelling it from the rooftops. It's that certainty that she sees you having going forward of going, nope, I just need to say this. That's just the way it is. And she said that don't get up here, she's just told you, because up here makes you second guess yourself. So she said, don't pause before you say it, just say it. And she's going, oh, look at me telling you things that I would never do if I was here.
No, it's all stuff I need to hear.
That's awesome.
Thank you. And that's what I love about you passing on the messages. It often feels like it is literally, well, it is mum, but it's very much in a
she's
firm
very.
way. That's how I take on information. I'd prefer someone to be straight.
Yeah, she's funny because she does this fluttery thing with her hands. So she's like, oh, did I tell her too much? And I'm like, see, I can see where her influence is kind of at cross purposes with who you need to be as well, because she's just like, oh, did I say too much to her just then? And I'm like, okay, stop. Yeah, you've got to, in yourself, what you could do is go, oh my gosh, I can feel in me the influence of mum, but that, thanks mum, I love that, but that's not who I am. Who I am is the person that needs to be a bit more assertive than that. So I'll take on board your programming, mum, but I just have to be me. And she said that's a bit where you can do that in a 2-second pause and say it anyway. she's just telling you as well. Because she spent a lot of your life trying to keep other people happy. And she said there's no room for you if you're trying to do that. There's no room for anyone.
I learnt that through her process, and that's what you learn through grief.
Yeah.
You do a lot of reflections.
Absolutely. And she said you got a completely different pathway to her. And she said you got travel, so much fun to be have. And she said that it's a little bit of a get to the end of the year and you're looking back and going, oh my gosh, I've got a completely new life. And she goes, well, you asked for that. She said, you didn't come to do boring, don't do boring.
I've never done boring.
No, not me
You
too.
know how bored I get to a bit.
She goes, just don't rush the process. Some things are supposed to be savoured as well, because she's like, she always saw you as your little was like, what's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? And she said sometimes it's just like, it doesn't need to be poked and prodded. You can just let it be the way that it is. She's just laughing.
What, you mean I had lots of questions?
Yeah, she said you're always a why child. She's showing me you're probably about 4 years old, and it's really cute. You're just like bent over on the pavement, and you're looking at like, I think it's a little tiny snail or something that you're looking at. And she said she loves your amazing curiosity that you've had right from the time that you were little. But she said sometimes use the discernment to say, does this really need to be poked and prodded, or can I just actually go, it is what it is? Because she said it's finding the paradoxical balance between those two things and being okay with it either way. Yes, I can poke that. No, I can leave that alone, and parking yourself in between those two things. She said that stop fighting with yourself about that, because you're going, I either have to do that or do that. You don't. You can actually do both. I'm like...
Message delivered and heard.
That's so awesome.
That completely fits. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I so appreciate you, Jackie. I don't know what I would have done without you for the last few years. So thank you.
I'm so grateful for you being in my world as well. I've met some incredible, amazing people, and I am in awe of your journey as well. And it's just such an honour to be able to bring your mum forward for you as well, because she's such a sweetie. And she's laughing. She has her own little bossy tendencies at times. So it's a win-win situation. So thank you for having me here today.
Thank you for spreading all your wisdom. I'm sure everyone's got something new to think about.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.